Welcome back, everyone. We've got quite the deep dive for you today. This one's about Ruby Franke, the 8 Passengers YouTube mom. Remember her?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The family vlogging channel. Big family seems so normal at first. Typical LDS family in Utah. But man, people started noticing some red flags with her parenting and
Yeah, and she was documenting it all, right?
yeah,
Like she wasn't even trying to hide it.
exactly. It was all right there in the videos. And it wasn't just like, oh, she's a little strict, It was more like, wow, this could be really damaging to these kids.
Definitely. People were calling her out online, big time. Like, remember when she wouldn't give her daughter lunch because of, I don't even remember what, some minor thing?
Yeah, and then there was the whole thing with her son sleeping on a beanbag for months. People were furious.
Yeah. I mean, that's not discipline. That's straight up
It felt like abuse, yeah.
abuse. Yeah. And then she gets involved with this Jody Hildebrandt in her Connections program. Didn't sound good from the start.
No, not at all. There's so many people were saying this has cult written all over it. Like Jody was all about obedience and isolating people from anyone who questioned her.
Classic cult stuff, right?
Absolutely. And Ruby was all in, it seemed like.
So was this Connections thing like a cover for something darker, you think?
It's definitely a possibility. It's something investigators are looking into for sure. But the whole thing really blew up when Ruby's son, Russell, escaped from Jody's house.
Wait, what? He escaped, like ran away.
Yeah, the poor kid, he was 12 at the time, went straight to a neighbor's house, and when they saw him, they knew something was terribly wrong.
Oh, man. What had happened to him?
He was malnourished, had duct tape on his wrists and ankles. It was just awful.
So they went to Jody's house.
Yep, and that's where they found Ruby's daughter, Eve. She was only 10 and in a similar state. Just heartbreaking.
So they found 2 kids in bad shape at this so-called life skills coach's house. What happened then?
Both Ruby and Jody were arrested, charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse, which, let me tell you, is a big deal.
6 counts. Wow. So what did they do to these kids?
It's bad. They reportedly had open wounds that they'd been treating with, like gauze and honey and cayenne pepper, like one.
Cayenne pepper, seriously.
Yeah, it's messed up. And on top of that, the kids were clearly malnourished.
You were talking about Connections having cult-like aspects earlier. Can you give us, like, the rundown on that? Like, what makes a group a cult, and how does this all fit in?
Okay, so cults often try to disguise themselves as self-improvement groups or spiritual movements, but what they really do is manipulate people into giving them all their power and control.
So, like, brainwashing them.
Basically, yeah. They cut people off from their families and friends, make them totally dependent on the leader, and use fear and guilt to keep them in line.
So you're saying Ruby might have gotten caught up in something way over her head.
It's a possibility. She was deep into Connections, and it's hard to say how much of her parenting was influenced by their teachings.
We got to talk about Ruby's husband, Kevin, and her daughter, Sherry.
Mm.
Where do they fit into this whole mess?
Well, Kevin had been separated from Ruby for about a year before the arrests, supposedly on Jody's advice, and he had barely any contact with his kids during that time.
Hold on. He was separated from his wife, who was mixed up in this potentially dangerous group, and he barely saw his 6 kids.
Yep. And here's where things get even weirder. After the arrests, Kevin tried to have Sherry arrested
Arrested. For what?
for taking some stuff from the family house.
Seriously.
Yeah.
His kids were just found in a terrible condition, and he's worried about some missing belongings.
It seems crazy, right? But it might actually tell us a lot about what was going on in the family. It makes you wonder if Kevin was more focused on protecting their image than dealing with the abuse.
Chilling. What about Sherry?
She was actually estranged from her mother. She didn't like what was happening with Connections at all. And she'd reportedly called the authorities multiple times, worried about her siblings.
Wait, so she tried to get help, but nothing happened. What was going on there?
It just shows you how complicated this whole thing is. You've got manipulation, loyalty issues, and a serious lack of action from the people who could have stopped it.
Man, this is intense, and we're just scratching the surface here. There's another person we need to talk about, Pam. So, who's this Pam person? What's her connection to all of this?
Well, she's supposed to be Jody Hildebrandt's, best friend. And she was big in Connections, too. Remember how the authorities were searching for Ruby's kids?
Yeah, after the arrests.
Right. Well, 2 of the Frank daughters, Abby and Julie, they were found at Pam's house.
At Pam's. So 2 of the Frank kids are with this woman who's super close to Jody. That's pretty suspicious, right? Especially with everything else going on.
Oh, yeah, definitely suspicious. And get this, Pam's excuse was that the girls were just there helping her with some cleaning and chores.
Cleaning and chores.
Yes.
Seriously.
Oh, okay.
Come on. Like, with everything we know about Jody and Connections, you really think that's all it was?
Yeah. No way. And it gets even worse. There's body cam footage from the police officers who went to Pam's house to find the girls, and it's pretty disturbing.
Oh, man. What's on the footage?
Pam is just like totally nonchalant. You'd think she had no idea what was going on. It's like she's trying to pretend it's a normal day, baking, cleaning, picking tomatoes with the girls, and she's completely ignoring the fact that two of their siblings were just found in horrible condition.
Like she's living in a different world almost, trying to convince herself and the officers that everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the really creepy part. One of the officers, while he's talking to Pam, he just casually mentions that the Department of Children and Families, DCF, found malnourished kids locked in a safe at Jody's house.
Wait, hold on. Kids locked in a safe. Are you serious? And he just, like, drops that bomb on Pam like it's nothing.
Yep. And Pam's reaction? Nothing. Doesn't even flinch. It's like she already knew and just doesn't care.
This is insane. I mean, was Pam really in the dark about all of this? If she was so close to Jody and involved with connections, how could she not know what was happening?
It's hard to believe she was completely clueless, especially after they found those kids in the safe. Maybe she was trying to protect her friend and the group, like just blocking it all out.
Or maybe she was part of it, And now she's trying to cover up what she did. This is where the timeline gets really important. You said Ruby used some kind of family emergency as an excuse to send Abby and Julie to Pam's. When was that exactly?
The timing is super suspicious. It was right around the time Russell escaped, so the investigation was probably already starting.
So Ruby knew things were about to hit the fan, and she sent her daughters to Pam's to hide them.
That's one way to look at it, yeah. It makes you think this was all planned out beforehand. And it makes Pam's role even more questionable. Did she know Ruby was sending the girls to her to keep them hidden from the cops?
These are some big questions the investigators need the answer. And what about those electronics and journals that Sherry took from the house? Why was Kevin so adamant about getting her arrested for taking that stuff? What was he so afraid of?
His reaction was way too extreme. It's like he was hiding something way more serious than just personal belongings. It makes you wonder if those devices and journals have evidence that could, prove he knew about the abuse or that he was involved with connections or even that he did something wrong himself while he was separated from Ruby.
He was trying to control the story, keep anything damaging from coming out.
Exactly, and that's why those devices and journals could be really important evidence. They might help investigators figure out the whole timeline, understand why everyone did what they did, and ultimately get justice for the kids.
So we spent 2 whole episodes talking about this Ruby Franke case,
Yeah.
And now it's the legal system's turn.
Right. After all the online stuff, the theories and the debates, it all comes down to what happens in court.
Okay, so let's get into the legal stuff. What exactly are they charging Ruby and Jody with, and what do they have to prove?
Well, they're both facing 6 felony counts each of aggravated child abuse. It's pretty serious. They have to prove, beyond a reasonable doubt, that they intentionally hurt those kids, either physically or emotionally.
We've already talked about the kids being malnourished, the injuries, and the whole thing with the kids locked in a safe. What else might they use against them in court?
Well, the medical records will be huge, showing exactly what kind of injuries the kids had, their overall health, and witness testimony will be important too. People who knew the family, people from connections, maybe even therapists who treated the kids.
And that body cam footage at Pam's house? That officer saying they found kids locked in a safe at Jody's place? That's got to be pretty damaging.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It completely contradicts what Pam was saying. And it could show that abuse was happening all over connections. And depending on what else they find, they might even go after Pam, too.
Yeah, it's hard to believe she could get away scot-free with everything we know now.
Definitely. And then there's Kevin. Do you think he'll face any consequences for, being separated from the family for so long and not doing anything sooner?
I mean, he tried to get Sherry arrested for taking those electronics and journals. That just seems so wrong given everything else. It makes you wonder if he knew about the abuse and was trying to cover it up.
Yeah, the prosecution is going to want to look into all of that, for sure. See if he had any legal duty to protect his kids. And what's on those devices and journals.
So we've got Ruby, Jody, and maybe even Pam and Kevin all facing charges. What are the possible outcomes here?
If they're convicted, Ruby and Jody could be looking at some serious prison time. Aggravated child abuse is a big deal. And as for Pam and Kevin, it depends on what they charge them with, what the investigation finds.
It's a lot to process. But at the end of the day, this case is about holding people accountable for hurting kids.
Absolutely. But it's also about so much more than that. It shows how child abuse can be hidden, how some groups can gain so much control over people, and how easily things can be faked online.
It's a reminder that we can't believe everything we see online, especially when it comes to these perfect-looking families and self-help gurus. We got to be more critical, question things, and watch out for groups that want to isolate people and make them obey without question.
Couldn't agree more. We also need to talk more openly about being good parents, understanding kids, and setting healthy boundaries. And, most importantly, we need kids to feel safe enough to speak up if something's wrong. We have to listen to them, believe them, and help them heal.
This has been a tough deep dive, but an important one. Thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully this has made you think, maybe ask some hard questions, and even inspired you to stand up for people who need help.
Remember, knowledge is power. By talking about tough issues like child abuse, we can make the world safer and more understanding for kids to grow up healthy, loved, and strong.